Early 2000s, I assisted Max, an Australian hairstylist, for a Natalie Imbruglia commercial. It was funny because he was just doing a ponytail. Clearly, there was no need for me to be there, but we had fun. I was his emotional support human. At the time, I had a L'Oreal Paris contract in Canada, and they were preparing me for bigger and better things and asked if I would work with their international team. Max and the makeup artist Collier were very lovely. They felt that my time was being wasted, so I told them I'd happily run errands, send me for coffee. I don't give a shit. Anyway, they sent me for some errands, which included picking up their bottles of champagne from their hotel rooms. When I handed them over to them, they were like, "Oh, no, they're yours." I mean, who doesn't want to work with people that give you free Veuve? Fast forward to months later, I ended up getting booked on another commercial with Natalie, where I was hired to do her manicure and offer assistance to a different hair guy who was based in LA and had done hair for Prince. I was totally there for those stories. Well, it was 3 days of shooting, and anybody in my industry knows it's really hard to maintain friendships with people that are not in the industry or have a proper understanding of what a freelance world is like. I had made plans with friends, probably a month in the making, to meet for dinner in Kitchener-Waterloo, and it happened to fall on the last day of this commercial with Natalie. Now, my non-industry friends would always whinge at my last-minute cancellations because of work. Hey, it is a feast or famine industry, and especially for me at that time, as I was a single mom with 2 kids and 0 financial help. This time, I promised my friends I would not cancel. Now, Natalie was begging me to cancel. I remember saying to her, "I'm sure you know what it's like to cancel on friends who are not in the industry. You end up losing some friends that just don't get it. They think you're not interested in friendship. Meanwhile, it's just the need to make money, survive, and feed my children." So literally, up until wrap time, Natalie was saying, "Andrea, come on, ditch the friends, let's go hang out." So we wrapped the commercial, and as I was driving on the 401, of course, I do not answer my phone until I get to the restaurant. I listen to it, voice from Natalie. I walk into the restaurant where all my friends are waiting, most likely impatiently for me. I set the phone in the middle of the table and told them to shut up and listen and hit play. And here is this fantastic Aussie accent saying, "Andrea, you bitch, get back here and come hang out with us." Then I turned to my friends and I said, "Are you fucking happy now? I'm ditching Natalie and Imbruglia to have dinner with you lot." I think there was about 10 of us having dinner. And out of all of those friends, I think there are only 2 of those friends that I still remain in touch with. Recently, I was talking to a friend of mine about friendships and how occasionally we have dramatic ends to friendships, even as women in our 50s. I think I'm truly at the point in my life where I've entered the tolerate zero bullshit for any situation era. In an earlier episode of the Fuck You 50s, we chat walkaway divorces with Julie Tyus, a family law lawyer. Why not walkaway friendships? Do men get together over a brewski and debrief why they no longer do rounds of golf anymore together? Do we owe anyone an explanation as to why we don't care to engage anymore? Absolutely not. Some friendships just aren't that deep. Maybe you have simply outgrown each other. Or maybe it was a friendship that always seemed to be like work and you've decided to retire. Some friendships can or just be toxic, in which case we need to prioritize our own mental health and well-being. Not all friendships need a dramatic hard stop. When I reflect back upon some of my friends, whom I quite liked, some just faded like whispers. A friendship can have its moment and the chapter simply end. No closure required. And then there are those friends who 10 years later, you can ring them and it's like the distance was never there. I'm going to segue this right into my next guest, whom we don't know each other, but have multiple parallels as she comes from an incredibly strong advertising and specifically beauty advertising background. I have no doubt in my mind that I have worked on beauty campaigns that she has worked on. And because of our parallels and how small the world really is, I asked her about a friend of mine who I had met while living in Singapore. And sure enough, it turns out that they have worked together. My friend was the client of my next guest who had worked at my friend's advertising agency. Did you follow that? Oh my God.
Welcome to the Fuck You 50s, the podcast for women who refuse to tolerate the bullshit anymore. This is real talk, real stories, and a long overdue reality check. I'm your host, Andrea Claire, and this podcast is the filter-free voice you've been waiting for, with a dose of F-bombs. The Fuck You 50s. Unfiltered, unapologetic, and undeniably needed.
My guest today is Lynn Power, who has spent much of her 30-year career running and transforming ad agency brands from top to bottom using creativity as a business tool for growth. She left the big ad agency world to launch 2 brands. Masami, a premium clean hair care brand, which launched in February 2020, and Il de Nature, bee-powered home fragrance which launched in September 2020. After battling breast cancer in 2021, she launched the Conscious Beauty Collective in 2022, since rebranded to Power Beauty Collab thanks to Ulta. One of Lynn's great takeaways is, I love when people underestimate me. Lynn Power, welcome to the Fuck You 50s.
Hi. Thank you for accommodating my crazy schedule.
Oh no, it's amazing. It's like I find it interesting that you come from an advertising background, and I'm like by trade, I'm a hair and makeup artist, so I work on a lot of TV commercials and things. And so
Yeah.
for me, I'm very much like, sure, let's make it work. It's like,
Yeah. It's like, okay, let's just
yeah,
figure it out. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. I had a quick shower, and my hair's wet in a ponytail. Whatever.
I know, me too. If my hair was long, it used to be long, I'd ponytail that thing and be ready to go.
Yeah, that's cute. I love it. Yeah. So let's just kind of like jump in. I love your story.
So in addition to my own brand, I'm also the founder of the Power Beauty Collab, and we have about 65 indie beauty and wellness brands. And I would say 75% of them are founders over 50.
Oh, wow. That's
So
amazing.
if you do want some recos when we're done, we can talk about that.
Yeah, I would love that. And I'm sorry, I don't know if you can hear, but we're actually up at our cottage right now, and my husband went out to run an errand, and I can hear we have a Bernese Mountain Dog puppy, and I can hear him like he's just crying for attention.
Oh, I know. I'm a huge dog person, so no, that's all good.
Yeah.
Poor baby.
So I found your story like just so interesting, of course. I think probably a little bit of the connection of our worlds kind of colliding. Not only do you have hair brands and I'm a hairstylist, but also with that advertising background.
Thank you, Andrea, for having me on. I love to be here. So I'm Lynn Power. I am a beauty entrepreneur, but I wasn't always a beauty entrepreneur. I started my almost 30-year career in advertising and kind of worked for a lot of the Madison Avenue, iconic agencies, Ogilvy, BBDO, Gray, McCann. I was the CEO of J. Walter Thompson, New York. That agency no longer exists, by the way.
Okay.
And then, it got merged in the WPP world, and now it's VML, I believe. But I left in 2018 because I kind of had done what I wanted to do in advertising and just was not enjoying it anymore. And I wanted to get back to what I love, which is building brands. So what better way to do that than to do my own brand? A lot harder than it seems. Yeah, not for the faint of heart. So
No.
I met my co-founder in 2018. We launched Masami, our clean premium hair care, at New York Fashion Week in February 2020, about a month before COVID. I was 54 at the time. And then I got breast cancer in 2021. That was a year of dealing with that. Very rare, aggressive stage 3 breast cancer. And then I ended up launching the Power Beauty Collab when I was coming out of my treatment in 2022, because it was a way for us small indie brands to kind of help each other grow and do some co-marketing and get in some retail boutiques. And that's been amazing. It's a great to have such a support system of other founders.
So your health, how's your health right now? Are you good?
Yeah, I mean, look, I still have my port, and they want to leave it in until I get to the 5-year mark. The type of cancer I had is a very high chance of coming back. So I get every 3 months, I get blood work, and then I get scans. So I've had so many pokes and prods and scans and whatnot, I can't even count anymore. But I mean, with this kind of cancer, they never like to say you're like good. Even now I have these like nodules on my lungs that weren't there before, which could be nothing, but also could be the cancer spreading. Like they don't know. So you just have to kind of take it as it comes.
I've had other health issues, but not that have been life-threatening. And so I just, I'm sorry to hear that you've gone through that, but it sounds like you're doing well and just kind of soldiering on.
It's funny because sometimes when I was going through cancer, people would go, "Oh my God, you're so strong." And I'm like, no, that has nothing to do with it. You don't have a choice. You know what I mean? It's like you either go through the treatment and come out the other side or you don't. And you know what I mean? Like it's not up to you. So much of it depends on the kind of cancer you have and when it's caught and what the treatment is. And so even though I was unlucky in the cancer lottery that I had this very, very rare aggressive cancer, it grew to be about 8 centimeters, which is the size of like a small orange, in 3 months. The positive of that was that I was what's called HER2 positive, which means that there are specific targeted drugs that can actually treat that. And my cancer responded, which a lot of women who have my kind of cancer, it doesn't work.
Wow.
So, in a way I was unlucky, but in a way I was lucky. I'd say I'm very lucky actually. But like I said, it's all good. You just do what you can and you keep moving, and it's all you can do.
Yeah, it's true. And it sounds like you have, a good kind of, I'm trying to think of the right word, but anyway, like the positivity moving forward and just, I guess it is what it is, right? I don't know. I feel like that sounds insensitive, but I don't mean it to sound that way at
No,
all.
it's not insensitive. I actually agree with you. I mean, when people would kind of go like the idea of like you have to be strong to fight cancer, there is a tiny bit of truth to that. But the reality is, like I said, there's so many other factors. And I have some very good friends who unfortunately didn't survive. Doesn't mean they weren't strong. You know what I mean? Like they were trying the fight and doing everything. And it just, the type of cancer they had or for whatever reason. And unfortunately, as you get to be our age, I don't know how old you are, but I'm 58.
I'm 54.
Okay. So I'm older, but I'll use our age loosely. You start to deal with all this kind of stuff, right? Health issues, parents. I lost my dad in 2018. I lost my older brother in 2021. You start to go through all these things with your friends. I have a good friend who had breast cancer. It's like, this is just becoming part of our conversation now as middle-aged women. And we talk about this stuff and we talk about menopause and we talk about the side effects and we talk about all these things. And thank God my hair care product is clean, because that was huge. Like the beauty industry is so dirty, and we can talk about that. But
absolutely.
It's so important to really detox your body from all this stuff, and beauty is a part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was going to say too, that it's like you're talking about, like sharing about menopause stories and of course cancer stories. I mean, there's things that we can just be vocal and share about that help other people kind of learn. And unfortunately, some of us go through some things but when you can't kind of come out on the other end, or maybe unfortunately you don't, but at least you have your experience that you can share with others and help them. Right.
Yeah.
Just talking about like clean beauty products. So it's interesting. I have an autoimmune disorder. We were living in Singapore for 15 years, and then we came back in Canada in 22, and I was diagnosed with something autoimmune there. But then of course, coming back to Canada, I have to go back to a new rheumatologist. And so coming back to Canada, I see a rheumatologist, and she's trying to figure out exactly what it is that I have. And my throat gets really dry quite frequently, and I'm always thirsty. And she sent me to one specialist, and I wish I could remember what his specialty was, but he does like a scan of like an ultrasound scan of my throat. And then he says, "What do you do for a living?" And I said, "Oh, I'm a hair and makeup artist." And he goes, "Aerosol, that's your problem."
Interesting.
And that's not even actually related to my autoimmune, but I'm having issues with my throat because of years and years of using aerosol.
And breathing that. Oh my God. Yes. That is. And who would have thought that hairdresser is like a health hazard profession?
Well, I knew because when I've been doing hair for over, gosh, when did I get my license? Like in 1992 or something. Part of like in my program, you had to pick like a project to work on. And one of the projects I work on was hair color and peroxide and how that affects us. And so over time, the buildup of that. So I knew that there was that, and I guess it makes sense because with aerosol, we have like propellants and all the other chemicals which are also bad for the environment too, right? But he said that most hairstylists should be wearing masks when they're using even just hairspray on set.
I don't think I've ever been to a hairstylist other than COVID where they wear masks.
Right.
So.
And it's interesting too, like when we're working on shoots, usually the aerosols are better because you want the product to dry faster because the pump tends to kind of leave a bit of a wetness to it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So talk a bit about your products, Lynn. So how did you get into that? And you mentioned that they're clean products. So that's also something to.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, I was working in advertising. I was just not enjoying it anymore. I was dealing with, this is the thing when people, and this because you are in and around that business, but people assume that when you get to be like the boss, that it's really glamorous. I'm not going to the shoots as the CEO of the agency. I'm dealing with HR issues, legal issues, finance issues. You know what I mean? I'm dealing with like the dregs, the problems, the fires, and I just really wasn't enjoying it. So I ended up leaving, and I was doing some consulting with startups because I wanted to get back to like really making an impact on businesses. And I ended up meeting my co-founder, James, who'd been working on our formulas for about 10 years as like his side project. He had worked at Clairol for 20 years as a producer, and just, he'd been working on this. And I was super skeptical. I've worked on a lot of beauty in my career. So I've worked on all of L'Oreal's hair products, launched some of their hair care or color products. I've done Clinique. I did all their global television, Nexus, Vichy, La Roche-Posay, a bunch. And I love beauty because it's an interesting intersection of kind of left brain, right brain marketing. And anyway, so my husband had worked with James, my co-founder, and he says to me, I don't really know beauty. Would you mind just talking to this guy? And I'm thinking, like, really? Like, I gotta because, I don't have a lot of time, and it's usually these things end up with like not a great, you end up talking to somebody for a while and the product isn't good, or, it's usually not a great outcome. So anyway, so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to have him over for dinner because then I can kill two birds with one stone. We were living in New York at the time. I'm busy. I got kids. I got all sorts of, so they come over. He brings his husband, Masa, who is this little Japanese man and the adorable, sweet man. And my dogs instantly liked both of them. And I have two finicky dogs. And that was a sign. I was like, okay, my dogs like them. That's good. And then from there, he started telling me the story and how he made the products. And I was really intrigued. And I tried the products and I loved it. And then we did some, once we decided to go into business together, we had to fine tune the formulas, do some consumer testing. We wanted to test on every hair type and texture because we wanted it to be a very inclusive brand, which we did all that. It took about a year and a half to get all that, get the brand name, get the packaging, like all that stuff. But what makes our product unique is it has a Japanese ocean botanical called makabu that grows in Northeast Japan. And we put it in our formulas in a powder format, which allows us to put a lot of active ingredient in there. Yeah. And it basically acts like a sponge to your hair to bring hydration without the weight.
Wow.
Now, my hair is not a great example. I just used the shampoo and the styling cream this morning, right before I got on this call, right? If you would have seen my hair pre-cancer, long, straight 1A hair, now when it started growing back, it got a little curly, which is weird because I've never had that. But I just decided not to grow it out because I just liked it short. But the thing is, like, my hair, like, if I didn't have the styling cream in, it would look like, it'd be flat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the shampoo actually, if I just shampooed, it wouldn't be flat. But if I use another hair care product, let's just say that, or a product with sulfates, but I like a little volume, So our products solve hydration, which, as you know, is the number one hair issue, but we don't weigh your hair down. Yeah. So it's this weird, it almost seems like an oxymoron, right? Like weightless hydration.
Yeah.
But it's because of this Japanese ingredient that we have. And of course, our product's made by EU standards. So for anyone listening who doesn't understand the beauty industry in the US, there's only 11 ingredients that are regulated here. A few more in California, but nonetheless, very few. In the EU, it's over 1,300 are banned. So you can get formaldehyde in your mascara here in the US. You can get sulfates and parabens and phthalates in your beauty products, and nobody thinks twice.
Yeah.
In Europe, you can't, all that stuff's outlawed. Dyes. There's certain dyes that are in our lipsticks and whatnot that are outlawed in Europe. So anyway, my point being, I got really into the clean piece because that's what everything should be, frankly. I don't think it's a differentiator anymore because a lot of the good products now are clean. But there's still a lot of stuff on the market. If you go into the drugstore and you're shopping for hair care products, 90% of what you find in the drugstore is going to have either sulfates, parabens, or phthalates, which is crazy.
Yeah, it's true. And sometimes they have it under a different name too, right? So it's like understanding
it's so hard. You look at an ingredient label, like you look at something and you're looking at it and you're like, wait, is that... Because sulfates can have several different names. It can be called SLS. There's a bunch of things. And parabens, same. And so, you want to look for labels that at least call out sulfate, paraben, phthalate free. And by the way, if the label only says sulfate free, that probably means that they're not paraben and phthalate free. Because if they were, they would have called it out on there. Just look in your cabinet, see what you're actually using every day, and then just do a little tiny bit of research to understand what you're putting in and on your body. Because it really, over time, I mean, my cancer was not genetic, by the way, something environmental. I don't know. Was it something now I grew up as you did in the 70s where, I'm eating TV dinners, and I'm a latchkey kid with my brothers and, but do you remember those Swanson TV dinners?
I do remember them. I don't think I had many of them, but it's not to say that I didn't have any other things that were bad,
But like
Yeah.
they're in a plastic tray and you're
Yeah.
putting it in the oven.
Yeah.
The plastic. Like nobody thought twice about that. So I don't know. And again, the beauty products and all this stuff, the shampoo, even though yes, you wash it off, because some people will say to me, yeah, but a shampoo is not going to get in my system. No, you're actually wrong about that. It does get in your system. Your scalp is super absorbent.
Yeah.
One of the most absorbent parts of your body, and you're rubbing it in.
Well, you think of too, like for people that think that they can absorb from their like shampoo, there's medications now that you rub on. So you have to remember that if you can rub a medication on your body for your body to take that on, of course it can take other things on for sure.
Yeah. So that's why, I think it is really important to detox your beauty just as much as you detox other things in your life. You detox relationships, you detox your food, detox your beauty too.
Yeah, clean living all around. No toxicity from relationships or your products for sure. So how long has your been how long has your product been around for now then?
So we launched at New York Fashion Week in February 2020. So that was my first challenge. It was a month before COVID. Everyone was going through it. So I can't, it wasn't anything different for me, but we ended up doing a lot of brand partnerships that first year, which was amazing, with other clean beauty brands. And that is actually what led me to launch the Power Beauty Collab, because those brand partnerships were so, first of all, ROI positive. So from a business perspective, great for the business because I was getting new customers without paying Facebook advertising costs.
Yep.
So that was great. But then also I really enjoy working with the other founders and sharing insights and learning and what works and what doesn't work. What doesn't work, by the way, can be almost better than what works sometimes, because there are so many pitfalls that you can go into if you're not careful.
Yeah. Yeah. And just to hear from other people that might have done something that doesn't work, they're just like, stay away from this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even don't work with this partner. We had there was a distributor who was like cold emailing all the brands. And we had 2 brands that were ready to sign up with them. And another brand was like, oh my God, it's a scam. I lost $10,000 to that company. Do not do it. And they wouldn't have known that,
Yeah. When I was living in Singapore, I had a husband and wife approach me. They lived in China. He was German and she was Chinese. And they approached me because they said they wanted to build a brand around me, which of course is great for the ego, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then I spent months, and at first they were like, oh, we just want you to, sorry, we don't have any money right now to launch it, but we'll be sending you product from the factory and getting your feedback. And in the meantime, they're showing me like how they're going to build the brand and giving me like branding options and things to sign off on. And then I ended up talking to another friend of mine who's a makeup artist here in Toronto. And she said, Andrea, it really sounds like they're just trying to scam you to get free feedback on all the products that they're building. And I think that you need to now say, I've done all of this consulting for you. I understand you want to build this brand around me, but now I need to start getting paid for it. And as soon as I said that, they were like, oh, okay, we're going to put a pin in this. And my friend was like, sorry, I hate to tell you, but that she said she had a similar experience. And I was just like, so it's like one of those. You share with people what works and what doesn't work, and maybe
you know
what relationships are toxic.
Oh my God, but it's so great that you're sharing that story, because I have to say, like, when those kinds of things happen, it's a little embarrassing.
Yeah, for sure.
Like you got scammed. Like this founder that was telling us, she's like, I can't believe I fell for it, but I gave them $10,000 and they said they were going to do these things and they never did them, and I was screwed. And when you're a small business, you can't get your money back. Like it costs more to hire a lawyer and try to deal with that. And it's just not worth it. So I appreciate when people like you and her like share those stories, because it's shocking how many scam artists are out there.
At least in my situation, I just gave time. I
Right.
didn't pay for anything. Still, and of course they're totally speaking to my ego. I'm like, oh my God, you want to build a brand around me? Choose me?
Yeah, no, that sucks. Yeah, I would say once a week, I get an email from someone posing to be a potential buyer who wants to buy my products wholesale. And I figured out now how to identify the scams, but it is crazy. They basically say like, oh, can I order, 5,000 of these? So huge order. And of course,
Yeah.
the first time you get one of these emails, you're like, oh my God, this is
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Like, oh. And then they go, this is why I'm telling this, because if anybody is listening that has this happen, you'll know. Then they say, we want you to use our freight forwarder. So can you pay them and then add that to our bill? And then we're going to pay you the whole amount. And so basically the freight forwarder is a fake company that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So you're paying, and they always want to buy your most heaviest, products, so that it's like, oh, it's like $1,500 to ship these products to, wherever. And then that's how they do it. So they want you to pay their freight forwarder with the promise that they're going to pay the whole bill. Such a horrible thing, because then you're out product and you're out money, and and it sucks as a small business. You can't be doing that.
It's crazy the amount of like scammers, and there's more now with AI and everything. Like I'm like every day I do have something in my spam folder where it's like somebody trying to, click on this link, or like, oh, your UPS order is like stuck. Click
Oh
here
my
to
God,
like release
UPS
it.
order, or the latest thing I got was from one of my wholesale partners, and they were like, your account, your payment method is inactive. You have to activate it to get your account back up and running. I mean, it sounds legit, and you look at it, and it actually was sent from inside their messaging system. But it was weird because it had an attachment, and when that looked a little suspicious. And so then what I did is I check and I go, no, my payment is it's not disconnected. It's there. That's weird. And then they sent out an email like a day later, like we were hacked. And that was so it's just hard. It's hard for anyone to know. Yeah, beware. Seriously, it's crazy. But anyway, back to beauty. Yeah, I do think it's really important for people to just think about your beauty routine, think about the products you're using on many levels. We talked about what's in the formulas. That's one piece of it. But then also, like, how sustainable are your products? We try not to have exterior packaging. We make our bottles recyclable. And then we also launch these big ceramic bottles that are refillable, so that, it eliminates plastic. Now, it's hard when you're a product that's in the shower like ours, because you can't have glass. That's obviously a challenge. But like, I think, if you're a consumer who wants to be more conscious about your choices and more mindful about the brands you support, look at their sustainability practice in terms of what are they trying to do. And it's a journey. Recognize that no one's going to have 100% everything's perfect, but like, are they attempting to do it? Do they give back? Do they, give back to the community in some way, which a lot of us small brands do. It's part of our DNA. It's not an afterthought like with bigger brands. Are they, vegan, cruelty-free, fair trade, all that kind of stuff, which again, most of us small brands are. And then you can start to, what I always tell people when they go, yeah, but where do I start? Start with one product, trade it out. If you really like it, because you want to make sure it's not going to irritate you or cause, because even things like we have blueberry extract in one of our products. I had a woman reach out to me. She's like, I'm allergic to nightshades. Well, that includes blueberries. So that would not have been good for her. Once you're happy with the results, then you can move on with your skincare too. Like switch out your cleanser.
Yeah.
Like finish your products. So don't throw out full products. You've been using them for years. They're not going to, like, another month or two isn't going to do anything. But like, finish your product and then try to find a better one, a cleaner one, and just until you get that right. And then switch out your moisture and then switch out your sunscreen. The other thing people don't realize is with a lot of these clean, high performing products, you don't need to use a lot and you don't need as many products because a lot of them are multitasking.
And then I think a lot of them too, aren't they? Just you don't need to use a lot because they're also very concentrated too, right?
Our shampoo,
especially when the ingredients are pure, right?
You literally use this much of our shampoo and people are blown away. Because it's a very, nutrient dense product.
Where can people find your products? Is it available globally right now, or is it just in the US?
We ship globally.
Okay.
We're on Amazon in the US. You can buy them from Amazon US. You can order from lovemasami.com or just go to the website, ask questions, check it out. Check out our Instagram or our socials, which is Love Masami Hair. And then, by the way, on my website, I also have a link for the Power Beauty Collab, which is all the other brands that are clean. So if you're looking for makeup, skincare, other stuff, check it out. We have even a oral care brand that's amazing.
Oh, wow.
it's, we've done the work to kind of vet the brands to make sure they're clean by EU standards. So you don't have to do that. And I use them all. I only use products from my collab. That's it. So like my skin, I'm 58.
You look
I've
great.
been only using clean products for now 4 or 5 years. And I think my skin has responded so well. Like my skin looks better now than it did 5 years ago. So, but you got to do what's right for you. Try things, don't take my word for it. Do your own homework.
Yeah. I think of too, it's like those old commercials from the 80s. Did you guys have those in the US where it's like, not only am I a president, but I'm also a user
Oh,
too.
yeah. That was like, I think Remington razors. Was that what it was called? Where the
I
guy's like,
don't
I
remember
love
what
you
it
so
was.
much, I bought the company.
Oh yeah,
Oh, no, you're thinking of Hair Club for Men. It was that.
Maybe that's it.
I think that was, I'm not only a president, I'm a client too. Yeah. It's interesting. What was it
That'll
called?
be your next campaign.
Hair Club for Men. Yeah. I think that's what it was. So funny.
So, and I noticed too, you have another brand too, don't you? Like the home fragrance band.
Yeah, so I launched a little candle business with wax from Dominica, which is actually where I am right now, in 2020 as well. But to be honest, when I got cancer, I had to park that business to the side. I kept the website on. You can still go on. You can still buy products. I just couldn't do everything. So
Right.
that business became a little bit of a pause and wait until I'm ready. And now I'm kind of re-engaging with that business and getting it back up and running. And that's been kind of exciting, but it's a lovely business. It's all like beeswax. We build hives down here in Dominica. The beeswax is from here. It's super pure. Dominica is a Caribbean country, if anyone doesn't know that.
I was gonna ask that. So that's where you are right now?
Yeah. Actually, you can't see the ocean. It's right there.
Oh, I see it painted. Yes.
Yeah. But anyway,
I'm by my lake house, so it's not as nice as an ocean though.
the lake's pretty nice. So yeah, so that business is meant to kind of help the bee population down here, and the candles are inspired by the fragrances here, and it's a really lovely business. It's very community minded, but yeah, we're just kind of getting it back up and running. It's called Ilda Nature.
Right. And that's so what brought you down to Dominica? Do you frequently go there? Do you have a place there? Do you have a background of being from there?
Yeah. So it was actually we came here first in 2017 and we left the day before Maria hit. And then Maria decimated the island.
Yeah.
But we fell in love with the island. And it's actually our friend George, who's his house. We're in his house right now. He introduced us to the island.
Yeah.
We love it. It's very raw nature. So there's no Starbucks. There's no golf courses on this island, shockingly. There are I think so. There are, I want to say 9 volcanoes.
Okay.
Like a lot. There's 265 rivers.
Wow.
It's very mountainous. It's like it feels like a jungle, but it's a very, I mean, you know how they say, when you get back to nature and kind of reconnect, it is like that kind of place. You just feel a whole different vibe here. And the food is so fresh and good because there's no preservatives and there's no pesticides and there's, so it just feels like a really healthy place. So because Hurricane Maria wiped out half of the bees down here, half the bee population was a really problem. So we work with the local bee cooperative down here. We actually do own some land here. They don't import bees because they don't want to get bees that have any kind of diseases or genetic mutations that were from another island or something. So when they're repopulating the bees, they have to just go through the process of splitting all the hives. It's a tedious process.
Wow.
And it takes time. It feels good to support them, and pay them well. So they're getting good wages and building the bee population back up. And yeah, that's what we do down here. But it's a teeny tiny business.
It sounds really cool though. I didn't even know about like the concept of splitting a beehive. That's really interesting. What do you think has been the biggest misconception, either from your perspective or others, as you've hit your 50s?
Is that like you're kind of done? You know what I mean? Like you're too old to start something new. I'll talk to people who have something that they're sort of dreaming about or thinking about, and they're my age, and they go, yeah, but I can't do that now. I'm like, I started a business at 54. You 100% can do that now. It's like, It is not too late. And in fact, the other misconception is that younger founders are more successful. It's the opposite. older founders are actually more successful. So the VC community does not believe that, and they perpetuate, I think, that misconception because you see them funding cool, young, attractive founders who look good, have a, whatever story. They wrote something on a napkin when they were 19 and whatever. But the reality is, most of the successful businesses have experienced founders who have been doing this a while. The thing about being an older founder is, and you can probably relate to this when you've been doing it a long time, you make quick decisions. You don't belabor stuff. You know what you like. You know what works. You don't overthink it. You know what I mean? You just move. And I think that's a big difference. I think people assume the other big misconception is, oh, you don't know digital.
Oh, yes.
Right? Like I had an investor that I talked to. Well, we do. No, I mean, it's crazy. This is when I learned that investors do not like older founders. I was talking to an investor, and then they won't ask you outright, like, how old are you or what, but they'll ask questions that dance around it. Like, so TikTok? And I'm like, yeah, I know. And you know what Snapchat is? Yes. And you know how to actually do it? Like, you've been on there? Yes. Like, now, not everybody knows every channel, but it's crazy. And I'm like, but as a founder, you do, yes, I know how to do Facebook ads. Yes, I know how to do Instagram. Like, it's crazy to me. But that is one of the ways that they're like, you're too old. That's their subtle way of telling you you're too old.
Yeah. What I always find so funny with digital and social media and things like that is I tend to know a lot more than even my kids. And my kids are like 17, 28, and 31.
There you go.
And I've had people say like, oh, you can ask one of your kids to help you. I'm like, fuck that. Like, I'll be helping them.
Same. My kids know less about all that stuff. Like, it's really funny because I have a 24 and a 22-year-old. And I used to think that they could help me with the social media until I realized they don't know this stuff. I know it better than they do.
Well, and also probably coming from your strong advertising background too, right? So
yeah, there's
course
that too, that like I lean into that stuff because it's, part of marketing and I think it's interesting and all that. But yeah, but I think a lot of founders get misunderstood that way. Like they think that a lot of older founders, I should say, that they think that we're out of touch with any kind of, even with AI. I have been doing AI for 2 years now. I do content, I do blog posts, I do images. Oh my God, the images we can create with AI. It's funny because, again, I had an AI company reach out to me. I had a meeting with them and they started to tell me, we're not sure if you really understand what AI is but our platform helps you make images. And I literally pulled up my Dropbox where I have folders for all of my AI images. And I have about 15 different companies that I've used over the last 10 years, all their competitors. And they go, I'm like, yeah, I've been doing this a while. I think it's an advantage. I always love when people underestimate me. I love that. So it's like, yeah, you think I'm old. This is the other thing that's funny to me is like my kids and my husband can I think attest to this, but literally from an energy level, I can run circles around my kids.
Yeah, I don't think that's me.
I mean, there's actually one founder told my husband, he was an early founder for Living Proof. And my husband so he had hair care experience. My husband had a call with him. The guy's in his 60s. He was super interested in our brand, except when he heard how old I was. He literally said, that's it, non-starter. She's too old. It'll never work. She'll never have the energy to run this business. And I literally think about that comment. And I was so mad when it happened. But I'm like, he didn't know I was listening. It was a phone call and my husband had it on speaker. He didn't know I was there. And he didn't know that when my husband is talking about the team, that it's his wife he's talking about. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I appreciate that he was that blunt man-to-man kind of thing, because now I was like, okay, that's what people think. Like, that's what I'm up against.
And I just love that soundbite where you said, when people underestimate you, it's kind of like, I feel like it's almost like when we're underestimated, then we can just kind of like slide under the radar and then pop up. And,
totally. Yeah. Totally. And that's the thing. I'm like, my business is not big, but it's growing. The products are excellent. Our customers love us. And I'm slow and steady, in like what I don't want to be a fad where one day it's like, oh my God, we're all over TikTok. I want to be the brand that in 5 years sort of slowly and people go, oh, where did that come from? I see them everywhere now,
I just love the fact too that you were saying that with your product that it's a lot of hydration based, because I feel like there's a huge misconception with people globally about hair products, and just everyone's always focused on getting protein in their hair. And I have people messaging me all the time for advice on which protein product should they get. I'm like, chances are like 9.5 out of 10 times you're going to need moisture, not
Yeah.
protein. Protein is more for compromised hair shaft or damaged hair. Everyone needs hydration though.
I'm with you. That's why we're like, if we solve hydration, it's, people's hair is more manageable, not frizzy. It doesn't break as often, like all those things. It doesn't fall out as often. That's the thing too. I was really happy when customers report back to me that like they don't lose their hair in the shower anymore. Like they're not getting the, clumps of hair. But it's just an education, because the problem is I feel like this time in my life, I'm kind of, it's like karmic, because I'm atoning for my advertising sins. And what I mean is, when I worked in beauty back then, I worked on L'Oreal, as I mentioned, and the way that they grow their business is by splitting up the benefits. So you have to choose multiple benefits. You can't just get a product that does everything. You have to choose the one for shiny hair or hydrated hair or color treated hair or healthy hair or strengthen. They've done that as a way to capture more shelf space in the stores. It's not a consumer strategy. It's not good for us as consumers. We don't want to have to stand there in front of the shelf and go, I need all of those things. How do I choose? That's why when we were doing our product, we're like, we don't want people to have any trade-offs. We're color safe. We add shine. We give you hydration. We eliminate breakage, like all those things. And so what makes me super happy is when someone uses our hair or our products, and I'm going to be so interested for your perspective, being with your background, and they say to me, I've never loved my hair ever in my life. I've hated my hair. I always thought I had the worst hair. And then I started using your products, and I actually love my hair now.
That's fantastic.
At least it's not the 80s, because I was going to say, bad
The 80s
perm.
had its time.
I had the bad perm in the 80s. At least now they're not doing that kind of stuff to their hair. But the point is,
I always had the asymmetrical haircuts.
I had one of those. And I had the claw.
Oh, did you? I never did the claw, but I had friends that did.
That was.
I remember there was a woman in my school. Well, woman, she was a girl, but I remember her walking in the hallway, and the front of her hair was always so perfect. So it was like the big piece, like coiffed, and and then the sides even poofed out. But then when she walked past you, the whole back of her head was all flat. So all this is like perfectly and I'll never forget her, because and I feel like she was one of the only ones that did that. It was like, don't you have a mirror? Maybe that's what was the inspiration for me to be a hairstylist.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Don't you have a mirror to see the back of that hair?
That's crazy.
So what's on your agenda for today?
I actually think we're going to go tubing today.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that's down the river, which is a really incredible experience. So if anyone is curious about the Dominica part of our discussion, look up Pegua Bay House.
Okay.
That's where we are. Pagua Bay, Bay House.
Yeah.
And you'll see this crazy whole thing. But yeah, they have, because of all the rivers and everything here, it's like they have this tubing. You just literally take it's like a Disneyland ride. You get on the tube and you float down the river for about 2 hours.
So is it just that you're just like floating? So it's not like it's not like white water tubing.
No. It's literally floating down the river.
Chill.
It is
okay.
Insane. So I think that's what we're going to be doing today.
And this place that you're staying at now, is it like it's a friend of yours that they like rented out or something?
Yeah. So Pegua Bay House, our friends built this eco resort, literally built it from scratch. It's an incredible place.
Yeah.
So anyone looking for really like an off the grid type vacation, but you're not really roughing it. I mean, look, I'm in this beautiful, it's not like you're like in a tent, somewhere. It's just an incredible return to nature. So it's called Nature Island, and that's why we named our candle brand Ile de Nature.
Oh, okay.
So it's basically Nature Island in French, which is the local Creole, is like French Creole is the local language.
I'll let you go so you can go on your river your river cruise tubing.
I'll just reiterate for people, like, you're never too old to do what you love, and time is precious, and don't waste it. So that's just my parting thought.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Lynn.
Thank you for having me. It was really fun.
Thanks for tuning in to the Fuck You 50s. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to follow and rate the podcast. And we'd love to connect with you on Instagram, so be sure to follow us at the Fuck You 50s. The Fuck You 50s is hosted by Andrea Claire. See you next time.